Aloha, namaste. This is Alexis Cox with Radha Home Yoga, and we have your new moon report. Tomorrow evening, Pacific time, it'll be 11:20 p.m. So in the East Coast, or even Central time, it'll actually be in the early mornings of Friday. We're gonna have our new moon in sidereal Scorpio. Scorpio is where the moon is at its lowest vibration, its lowest level of intelligence. Our moon is our emotions, it's our mind, and it already goes up and down, trying to kind of find a place to hold on to, somewhere it can feel held. And in Scorpio, the container is volatile. The container's emotions, really watery, and also passions and anger and volatility. So the fire element. So we see that our mind and emotions are more disrupted and more likely to have these imagined fears and imagined realities and to see things in their potential worst state. It can also be a time when we face our deepest fears, however. It's when we are forced to look at ourselves sort of at our ugliest or at our darkest, at our harshest time. The new moon is also the time of the month when our psyche is the most depressed, sort of. It's the time when we're the least full of emotions and thoughts. Very good time for meditating, for coming to a quiet place in the mind, but it's not as fulfilling in a social sense or in even an emotional vibrancy or mental vibrancy sense. So there's a level of deflation and depression and fading to dark. So we might not feel as optimistic or as fulfilled. So it's kind of a double doozy when it's a Scorpio dark moon. When it's a new moon in Scorpio, it's sort of like the moon's in its state of debilitation and it's in its most deflated time of the month. So this new moon is happening with Jupiter and Mercury in the sign. So you see that we're going to have that planet Jupiter of our ideas, our ideals and our inspirations, our beliefs, those things that really inspire us and really cause us to move in the world in the way we do, to maybe, be friends with the people or hang out in the circles that we do, to reject the circles that we do and the ideologies that we do, to connect in certain religious or spiritual tribes, and also to kind of express our beliefs to the world. And when Jupiter's in Scorpio, we have a tendency to really feel our shadow side and to really look at ourselves and not to just stand on a pulpit and express our opinions to everyone else, but to actually do some of that work ourselves and look at ourselves. We can have a tendency to blame others, especially our partners. We can have a tendency to see what other people are failing at. But ultimately the lessons in Scorpio come back to the self and the fears and dark, shadowy places that we each have. So that can be an uplifting energy, the Jupiter energy, in the sense that Jupiter is always expansive, it's always uplifting, it's always more optimistic and generous, but also because it's giving us a chance to get out of the funk, get out of that place where our mind is just like, oh, things are so hard, and look at what we could be learning from it, or look at the lesson in it all, look at the teaching, and the inspiration, the ideal that we can aspire to. And then Mercury is also in this configuration. Mercury's at 3 degrees, so it's pretty far. The sun and the moon are at 21 degrees Scorpio. But Mercury also just stopped its retrograde cycle. So we are beginning to move forward again with our mental energy, with that part of us that communicates and also has rational thought. We take in the different ideas and facts, opinions, everything that we read, everything that we listen to, we have a discriminatory aspect to our mind. It's called the buddhi in Sanskrit. And this is Mercury. This is where we discern fact from fiction. We discern what we're taking in to begin with, what we even allow ourselves to take in. And then we organize it and put it out, either through spoken word or through written word, or however we do, through our memes on Facebook, our likes and comments, I guess, in this day and age. So Mercury has a tendency to be a little bit more like the moon in this situation, where we can be very emotional, we can be irrational, we can project things on others. And also there's a real controlling nature of Scorpio. There's a quality where the Scorpio person's so scared of losing the other that they might say or do things that manipulate the situation to be in their grasp and their control. And with Mercury, it's going to be through words and through ideas. So you see that sort of controlling, lashing out. Again, the water, the emotional drive and the emotional vulnerability that's driving us to be scared and to be wanting control. And then that fiery, passionate part that makes us act in that way. So, Mercury is moving out of retrograde now, or has moved out of retrograde now. So we're, we're not in that same backed up state that we've been the last few days. We'll start seeing things moving forward with our technology, with our emails, with our phone calls, with whatever it is we've been trying to do. But, again, there's still that Scorpio quality, and it's at the early degrees. So we still have quite a while with Mercury and Scorpio. So the specific star, nakshatra, that this new moon is in is called Jyestha, and it's the last part of Scorpio, and it's the nakshatra that sort of ends that part of the zodiac. So the zodiac is split into these 3 sections. The first one is mostly about self, the second one's mostly about others, and the third one's mostly about the universal realm. And Sagittarius is where that universal realm starts, where we start to plant seeds for something that's bigger than just us and another person, or us and our family, where we're starting to see, like, how does this affect humanity? What's the long-term, long-run situation we're looking at? But the end of Scorpio, we're still battling that part of us that's sort of mired in the us and them and the me and you, and the mini dramas of our lives. So Jyestha is where we start to really overcome our fears, where we have a lot of power, a lot of strength, a lot of glory with us. It's ruled by Indra, the king of the gods, and he really stands up tall and proud and runs the show. But he's also arrogant, and especially in the later texts, he starts to really make some bad decisions out of his arrogance. He starts to offend his guru, who is Jupiter, the planet of beliefs and ideals, the planet of guru, of teachings. He starts to offend Krishna, the all attractive one, the Godhead himself. He starts to offend everyone at some point. He really starts to become a cocky and swaggering fool at times. And one of the stories that I think of is I actually have heard it or read it through the perspective of the book Ganesha Goes to Lunch, which is a great collection of stories sort of retold. And this one has Indra locked in his own chains. He's having a conversation with Brahma, the creator, the creation aspect of Source. If you don't know a lot about the Vedic system, they have different gods' faces and different goddess faces, but it's all a reflection of one source. And Brahma is that creation, that energy that made things, that starts things, and then kind of, doesn't do as much after that. And Brahma is sitting here talking to Indra, and Indra is in the chains of Ravana's castle. And Ravana is the evil, many-headed demon who steals Sita, Ram's wife. And in this part of the story, he's somehow issued his monster army, his demon forces to go out and conquer the gods, which is another pretty common theme. And Indra has his own weapon used against him, this shimmering net of illusion that he casts is actually put over him, and he is captured by it. And when Brahma finds him, he's sitting in this cell with these chains on him, moping and yelling about how none of the other gods did anything. Agni, the fire god, he didn't do anything. Vayu, the wind god, he didn't do anything. Especially in the early Vedic texts, a lot of these deities were very elemental, and Indra was one of, was part of those early texts. And, so Brahma is trying to calm Indra down, and he's sitting on his lotus flower in his meditative position, and he's like, all your anger, Indra, is about yourself. You should just be mad at yourself. And, you feel this pity for yourself. You feel sorrow, you feel suffering, feel it for yourself. And at the end of this dialogue, Brahma has his own little moment where he steps out and, tries to free Indra. He talks to Indrajit, who is this, demon head who's been able to capture Indra. And and that name was given to him because he was able to capture Indra. And he bargains for the key to Indra's chains. Now, Indrajit, being the demon who captured Indra himself and given the name of he who captures Indra, is really another part of Indra, right? He's really another aspect of him. And he's like the gatekeeper, the bailiff, or somebody in a jail. But of course, he's also part of Indra. And so Brahma's really talking to another part of Indra's self. And he gets the key and comes back to Indra and says, you're free. You're free. All you have to do is just be free. Just break free of those chains. And eventually Indra's able to do that. But it's through his own power of his mind. It's through his capacity to release all the chains that he's put on himself. And so the reason I really like the story for Jaistha is because, or specifically for Scorpio, is because we see that this is where we lock ourselves in chains. This is where it's our imagination or our mind or all the things we've chosen to believe about reality and chosen to believe about ourselves and chosen to believe about others that have gotten us to the point where we're locked in these chains and where we have this, gossamer threaded net on us and we can't see our way out. But there is no one who can let us out besides ourselves, besides that part of ourselves that captured ourselves to begin with. So it's a really powerful story, and I hope it offers some insight to you. It certainly does for me. There's a lot of different stories with Indra sort of, making mistakes and then saving the day. But this one I like because it's personal. It's his own life he has to save, and that's really the quality of Scorpio. And right now with 4 planets there and this new moon, that's really going to be a lot of the energy this next 30 days, this next moon cycle. So we still have Mars in Aquarius, and Venus in Libra and Saturn in Sagittarius. So we've had a lot of these planets in the same placement for quite some time. Venus is going to stay in Libra until the end of the year. So we have some positivity in our relationships, just a desire to be harmonious, a desire to get along, a desire to not make waves. We have some commitment to our beliefs, which can cause issues in that realm, especially with Mercury and Scorpio, but we overall want to get along in relationship, especially in romantic relationships or in partnerships, anything that's kind of a one-to-one with another adult. And Mars in Aquarius can also give us that quality where we really want to fight for what we think is right in the world. With Aquarius, it's not as much about beliefs and ideals as it is about structures and systems and ideas, not ideals, that we think are right and that we are willing to fight for, in this case, with Mars there. So what are the systems, what are the things of the future that we can envision that we really want to put into action? And of course, it's in more universal signs. So not just on our own personal plane, but what are we seeing for the world and how can we contribute to that? And that will be a theme too till the end of the year. So I hope this was helpful and finds you well. If you haven't yet signed up on my website, you can, either from the link on this video. You can go to www.radhahomeyoga.com and sign up to receive your free Jupiter in all 12 signs report, because it'll show each rising sign in the sidereal system and what houses Jupiter rules for you and what house it's visiting. So it can really give you a more personalized view of how Jupiter's transit through sidereal Scorpio is affecting you. And this is a transit that's going to be in effect until November of 2019. So it's a year-long transit, and it just began in the last month and a half, 2 months. I guess we're coming up on December 12th, so about 2 months. And also, if you are interested in giving a gift that has zero waste and is going to help your loved ones for really forever, but especially in the next year, think about giving them a gift certificate for a Vedic astrology reading. These readings are so in-depth and so spot on. They really help people see what's in front of them, what their challenges and strengths are, and how they can move forward to be the best self that they can. I hope this finds you well. You feel free to like, comment, and share. Have a beautiful day and new moon. Namaste.